Most retirees miss an 8-year window that could save them thousands in taxes. Imagine retiring at 62 with $2.5 million in a traditional IRA and $400,000 in savings. At a 5% annual return, that IRA could grow to over $4 million by age 75 if it's left untouched. And if you plan to delay Social Security until age 70, for the next 8 years, your taxable income will be very low. And this is where people make a big mistake. They do nothing with their IRA. They just let it grow. And because after years in higher tax brackets, they finally find themselves in a lower one. They get complacent and simply live off savings until Social Security or IRA withdrawals begin. Feel like they're avoiding taxes, but in reality, they're just postponing them into a less favorable situation. And a looming problem begins to emerge, because the larger that balance gets, the more concentrated your future tax problem becomes. Every dollar of growth inside that IRA is a future dollar that must eventually come out and be taxed on a schedule that you don't control. So by age 75, a $4 million IRA could generate an RMD of over $150,000, which stacks on top of your Social Security and any other income that you have, whether you need it or not. And that's the key issue. These withdrawals are no longer based on your spending needs. They're based on IRS rules. So even if your lifestyle only requires $80,000 to $100,000 per year, you will be forced to report far more income than you actually need. And since your RMD increases over time, your tax rate will increase as well, because each year, the percentage that you're required to withdraw rises, while the balance, if it's still growing, is going to remain large. So instead of gradually managing income, you end up compressing more and more income into fewer years. And since Medicare is income-based, your Part B and Part D premiums will likely go up also, which means that the impact isn't just limited to taxes. And all of this is because you ignored the 8-year window between 62 and 70. So how do you avoid this? Well, the years between 62 and 70 are one of the few windows where you can control your tax situation. Instead of waiting for RMDs to force income on you later, you can intentionally create income now by converting portions of your IRA at lower tax rates. But most retirees resist this. They don't want to voluntarily pay taxes today. And I get that. No one enjoys writing a check to the IRS. But the problem is the alternative is worse, because later in retirement, you lose control. A few years ago, I started working with someone who was 67. He had retired at 60 and his IRA had grown substantially between 60 and 67. So by the time we started working together at 67, his IRA was already over $4 million and his window to act was already narrowing. We still did Roth conversions, but now we had to work around Social Security starting and the looming impact of RMDs. So instead of clean, controlled conversions in lower brackets, we were managing around some constraints. And we were able to improve his situation, but it would have been far more effective if we had started a few years earlier. And that's really the goal here. You want to recognize income early in lower brackets and smooth it out over time. Because once you hit your 70s, large income spikes become hard to avoid, and they ripple through everything. Higher marginal rates, lost deductions, and increased Medicare costs. If you do this properly, consistent conversions can reduce your IRA, lower your future RMDs, and potentially protect a surviving spouse from higher single filer tax rates, and build a pool of tax-free assets inside of a Roth IRA. But timing matters, because once Social Security begins, your flexibility shrinks. Then once RMDs begin, it's mostly gone. So early retirement isn't a time to just coast, it's a time to act, because this is the one period where your tax rate is largely within your control. And if you don't use that control when it's available, you're not gonna get it back. If you're looking for something else to watch, check this video out right here. It explains why retirement taxes are often higher than people expect.